He's a beast in the ring, but in bed, he's even more intense. I had been working in the legal sports therapy world for barely 6 months when my boss temporarily reassigned me here. Temporary my ass. This place felt like a punishment. But then he stepped into the ring. And everything around me stopped. Rylan Creed. His name alone made the crowd erupt. Whispers rippled around me. That's him, the monster. No one has ever knocked him down. I heard he once broke a man's rib with a single punch. I expected a brute. Someone wild. Someone reckless. But the man standing under the flickering lights was breathtaking. Tall, built like every sculptor's dream, muscles drawn tight across his torso like lines of power. Black hair messy and damp from warm-up sweat. Tattoo of a wolf curling up one side of his ribs. Jaw sharp enough to cut glass. But it was his eyes that held me. Cold. Focused. A storm barely contained. I should have been taking notes on the fighter's conditions, but instead, my pen didn't move. My breath barely did. The bell rang. And Rylan became something else entirely. He lunged forward with a power that shook the mat, colliding with his opponent like a force of nature. Every punch was precise. Every move explosive. Every sound he made, short grunts, harsh breaths, sent heat crawling up my spine. He fought like he didn't fear pain. Like pain feared him. At one moment his opponent landed a desperate hook, a lucky strike that cut across Rylan's cheek. A thin line of red appeared. Just a drop. But watching it fall felt like witnessing something forbidden. My chest tightened. He didn't react, not even a blink. But then, as if sensing my gaze, his head snapped in my direction. Our eyes met across the arena. His stare was searing, primal, like he recognized me even though we had never met. Like he had been searching for someone to witness him bleed, and unlucky me happened to be the one. I felt the heat climb my neck. My pulse hammered like I was the one in the ring. The bell rang again. Rylan took down his opponent with a brutal, clean ending. An uppercut that made the crowd erupt in applause and fear at the same time. The match was over. But he didn't celebrate. Didn't raise his fists. Didn't even acknowledge the victory. He walked through the ropes, down the steps, past handlers and officials who tried to hand him towels. He ignored them all. Then, before I could step aside, he stopped in front of me. Close. Too close. Towering over me, shadowing me in all his heat, sweat, and barely leashed energy. His breath hit my cheek. His voice was low, rough, dangerous. Rylan, you. What's your name? My mouth went dry. Evan, Evan. Evan Hale. His eyes dipped to my lips before returning to my gaze, sharp, unreadable. Rylan, come with me. Not a question. Not even a request. A command. Before I could process what was happening, his hand wrapped around my wrist, big, warm, calloused. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. He wasn't dragging me. He wasn't forcing me. It felt more like claiming. He led me through the back hallway, crowd noise fading behind us, until we reached the fighter's locker room. He pushed the door open, stepped inside, and without looking back said, Rylan, close the door. My hand hesitated on the handle. Just one match, and the beast of the underground ring had set his sights on me. And I had no idea what waited behind that door. But I knew. My life wasn't going to be the same after tonight. The locker room door clicked shut behind me. My heartbeat echoed louder than the crowd outside. The room smelled of antiseptic, cold metal, and Rylan's sweat, raw, masculine, intoxicating. He finally released my wrist. For a moment, he just stood there with his back to me, chest rising and falling with the adrenaline of the fight. The lights overhead cast shadows across every carved muscle on his back. He looked unreal. Too powerful. Too dangerous. Yet when he spoke, his voice was low, almost hesitant. Rylan, do your job. I blinked. Do your job? He didn't even know what my job was. Evan, what exactly do you? He turned toward me so fast I froze. His eyes weren't cold anymore. They were searching. Rylan, patch me up. You're the new therapist, right? My mouth opened then closed. Right. That was technically true. But I was trained for professional sports, not underground blood shows. Still, my hands moved instinctively, opening the medical kit. Rylan sat on the bench, legs spread, hands resting on his knees. He didn't bother grabbing a towel. Didn't wipe off sweat. Didn't pretend he wasn't staring at me while I prepared alcohol pads. His gaze felt like heat traveling across my skin. I approached him slowly. Up close, he was even larger than he looked in the ring. His thighs alone could crush granite. His torso glistened with sweat, each rise of his chest hypnotic. My hand hovered near his cheek, the one with the cut. Evan, this might sting. Rylan, I don't care. But when I touched him, he inhaled sharply. A soft, involuntary sound. Not one of pain. One of something far more dangerous. The temperature in the room shifted instantly. My fingers tingled. His skin was hot, burning, almost fevered. The cut wasn't deep, but it was personal. On his face, on the man everyone believed could not be harmed. I wiped the blood gently. He didn't look at the wound. He looked at me. His eyes flicked down to my lips, then back to my eyes. I felt my throat tighten. Evan, are you always this intense with people who bandage you? His jaw flexed. Rylan, no. I swallowed. Evan, so it's just me? He didn't answer with words. Instead, he reached up, slowly, and wrapped his fingers around my wrist. His touch wasn't rough. It was careful. Possessive in the gentlest way. He guided my hand lower to the bruise forming along his jawline. Rylan, finish the job. I did. But my hand trembled, ever so slightly. He noticed. His lips curved, not quite a smile but something close. Something soft. Something impossible. Rylan, you're nervous. My breath hitched. Evan, you're staring. He tilted his head, eyes narrowing as if studying me. Rylan, I look at things that interest me. His voice was quiet, intimate, like a confession set in the dark. My heart was beating too fast. And he could hear it. I knew he could hear it. When I moved to inspect his shoulder, he shifted, closing the distance between us. His thigh brushed mine. My knees nearly gave out. I stepped back out of instinct. He moved forward out of instinct. Now he was towering over me again, one hand braced against the locker beside my head, caging me in without touching anything but the air between us. His breath washed over my cheek, hot and uneven from the fight. He spoke softly, but the air vibrated with his words. Rylan, don't run from me. My pulse thundered. Evan, I'm not. His fingers brushed my jaw. Just barely. But enough to make my entire body tense. His tone dipped even lower. Rylan, you flinch like I'm going to hurt you. I shook my head. Evan, you won't. Something flickered in his eyes. Something almost grateful? Then he whispered. Rylan, then don't look at me like you're scared of wanting me. My breath caught. I had no answer. None that made sense. None that wouldn't reveal too much. He stepped back suddenly, almost reluctantly. The tension snapped like a pulled thread. Rylan grabbed a towel and wiped his face, pretending he wasn't watching me from the corner of his eye. He cleared his throat. Rylan, you did good. I blinked. A compliment? From him? Before I could reply, he added, Rylan, come tomorrow. Same time. My eyebrows lifted. For what? He paused at the doorway, turning slightly, eyes smoldering. Rylan, I want you there. My stomach flipped. He didn't say, I need your help. He didn't say for therapy. He said, Rylan, I want you. The door shut behind him. And I stood there, breathless, realizing something terrifying. The beast of the underground ring didn't just notice me. He had chosen me. And whether I was ready or not, he wasn't done with me. The next day I told myself I was only going because it was work. Not because of the way Rylan said, I want you there. Not because my heart reacted like it had been claimed. Not because I'd replayed the feel of his fingers around my wrist over and over. No, purely professional. At least, that's what I tried to believe. The training gym was nothing like the arena. It was quieter, emptier, lit by natural light spilling through high windows. Punching bags swung in rhythmic motion, and the air smelled faintly of leather and chalk. And then there he was. Rylan Creed. Gloves on. Shirt nowhere in sight. Sweat already sliding down his torso even though he'd just begun warming up. His muscles flexed with every movement, shoulders rolling, back rippling, veins tracing down his arms like living lines. He noticed me instantly. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture sharpened. His punches grew slower, more deliberate, almost like he was performing for me alone. When I approached with my clipboard, he pulled out his mouthguard and spoke first. Rylan, thought you'd chicken out. Evan, why would I? I'm here for your training assessment. His smirk was immediate. Rylan, is that what you're calling it? I cleared my throat, pretending to read my non-existent notes. Evan, let's begin. But he didn't let me take even one professional step. He grabbed the back of his shirt, well, what would have been a shirt, and wiped sweat from his jaw as he stepped closer. His chest rose and fell in slow, controlled breaths. When he finally stopped in front of me, I had to look up, way up, to meet his gaze. Rylan, stretch me. I choked on nothing. Evan, I stretch you? Rylan, you heard me. He laid down on the mat, arms behind his head, biceps flexing. He looked like Sin. Tired, hot, dangerous Sin. I stared at him. He raised an eyebrow. Rylan, I'm not going to stretch myself. God help me. I knelt beside him and lifted his leg gently to start a hamstring stretch. The second my hand touched his thigh, his muscles tightened, heat radiating through my palm. His eyes didn't close. He watched me. The entire time. Rylan, your hands are shaking. Evan, no they're not. They absolutely were. He didn't tease. Instead, his voice lowered. Rylan, relax. I won't bite. My face burned. Rylan, quietly, unless you want me to. I dropped his leg. He laughed, a rare low rumble that felt like a reward. I tried again, avoiding his gaze this time, focusing on my breathing. But then, he exhaled my name. Not loudly. Not clearly. Just a soft, accidental slip. Rylan, Evan? I froze. He didn't correct himself. He didn't apologize. He simply said it again, more controlled. Rylan, look at me. I did. And oh, the way he stared at me. Like he was memorizing my face. Like he was fighting between restraint and impulse. Like he wanted something he wasn't used to wanting. He leaned up on one elbow, bringing his face closer to mine. Rylan, tell me why you really came back today. I swallowed. Evan, because it's my job. He tilted his head, eyes narrowing with amusement and disbelief. Rylan, liar. Evan, He moved so fast I barely had time to react. One arm slid behind me, bracing on the floor as he leaned over, caging me between his body and the mat. His shadow covered me. His breath brushed my cheek. He didn't touch me anywhere else. He didn't have to. Every inch of him was heat and tension and restrained hunger. Rylan, your heartbeat gives you away. My breath caught. Evan, why you can't hear my heartbeat? His lips twitched. Rylan, Evan, I can feel it. God, I was sure he could. I was sure he felt everything. I opened my mouth to push him away, or tell him to get off, or something, but instead the words that came out were, Evan, you're too close. His reply was a whisper that violated every safe distance rule in the world. Rylan, then move me. We both knew I couldn't. His eyes darkened with something primal. Rylan, I knew you'd come back. Evan, why? He hesitated just for a moment. Then he murmured, almost like he never meant to say it aloud. Rylan, because I wanted you to. Before I could respond, he pushed himself up and stood, breaking the moment so abruptly I felt physically colder. He grabbed his gloves and tossed one at my chest. Rylan, put it on. Evan, what? No. Rylan, you're training with me today. I blinked. Evan, I'm not a fighter. He smirked. Rylan, good. Then you'll stay close. And then, just before turning fully away, he added, soft enough to sound like a confession. Rylan, I want to see what you do when I touch you again. My heart slammed against my ribs. Training with him wasn't just a bad idea. It was a catastrophic one. Because the beast wasn't just interested now. He was hunting. And somehow, I wasn't sure I wanted to run. Rain poured down in thick sheets that night, hammering the street like a tantrum from the sky. I had just finished heating up leftover pasta, my apartment quiet except for the occasional drip from the leaky window. Silence. A rare moment of normal. Until someone knocked. Not lightly. Not politely. 3 solid, desperate bangs. I froze, spoon halfway to my mouth. No one visited me. No one even knew where I lived. Except my boss and... I opened the door. Rylan Creed stood in my doorway, drenched from head to toe. Sweat. Rain. Tears? I couldn't even tell. His black hair clung to his forehead. He wasn't wearing a jacket. His hands were trembling. He wasn't bruised, not visibly. But something in his expression was shattered. He looked like a warrior who had run from a battle he couldn't win. He looked like a beast brought to his knees. And for a moment, he just stared at me. Silent. Dripping. Lost. Evan? Rylan? What happened? His jaw tightened. His eyes flicked away as if ashamed to be seen. Then, in a voice nothing like the one he used in the ring, nothing like the confident, taunting tone he used during training, he whispered, Rylan, don't ask me anything. Just let me in. My chest tightened. Without thinking, I stepped aside. He brushed past me, body radiating heat even through soaked clothes. He leaned against my wall like he had used the last of his strength just to reach my door. His breaths were ragged, uneven. He slid down the wall and sat on the floor, legs bent, forearms resting on his knees. His drenched shirt clung to every muscle, outlining every shiver. I knelt down in front of him. "Evan, Rylan, talk to me." He shook his head hard. Drops of water flew off his hair. His hands curled into fists. "Rylan, no. Don't. Please." His voice cracked mid-sentence. My heart lurched. Rylan Creed, the man whose name made grown men flinch, was falling apart on the floor of my tiny apartment. I grabbed a towel, kneeling beside him. Gently, I reached to wipe his face, but he caught my wrist. Not forcefully. Not in control. His grip trembled. "Rylan, if you touch me right now, I'm not sure I'll be able to stop." My breath hitched. But I didn't pull away. Instead, I softened my voice. "Evan, why did you come here?" He looked at me, really looked at me, like he was trying to find words he didn't know how to speak. Then quietly, almost broken. "Rylan, because I didn't know where else to go." My heart clenched painfully. This wasn't the beast. This wasn't the fighter. This wasn't the man who cornered me against gym walls and teased me until I blushed. This was a boy who'd never known softness. A man who never had a safe place to fall apart. Someone who never learned how to ask for comfort. I took a slow breath and reached again. This time he didn't stop me. I gently dried his face, brushing strands of wet hair away from his forehead. He closed his eyes, the tension in his jaw loosening as if my touch unspooled something knotted inside him. His voice was low, barely audible. "Rylan, everyone expects me to be angry, violent, unbreakable." He swallowed. "Rylan, but I'm tired, Evan. So fucking tired." My chest ached. Even in his vulnerability he kept his voice controlled, but the cracks were there. I sat beside him, knees touching. He didn't move away. Instead he leaned slightly, just slightly, into me. As if seeking warmth. As if seeking safety. As if he had been cold for years without realizing it. I whispered, "Evan, you don't have to be a beast here." He shook his head numbly. His voice trembled. "Rylan, but that's all I am." I gently held his chin, making him look at me. "Evan, no. It's what the ring made you. It's not what you're allowed to be everywhere." His eyes softened, stormy, confused, vulnerable. And then, he leaned forward, resting his forehead against my shoulder. Just that. Not a kiss. Not a possessive gesture. Just a broken man trying to breathe. I wrapped my arms around him. Slowly. Carefully. His breaths were shaky, uneven, sounding like he was fighting not to collapse completely. Minutes passed. Maybe hours. Thunder rolled outside, but inside the apartment, there was only the warmth of our bodies pressed close, the soft rustle of clothes, the quiet heartbeat against my chest. Finally he whispered into my shirt. "Rylan, you're the only one who looks at me like I'm human." My throat tightened. "Evan, because you are." He exhaled shakily, like those words hurt and healed him at once. When he finally lifted his head, his eyes were red but focused. He cupped my cheek with his calloused hand, gentle, almost reverent. "Rylan, don't let go." My heart broke. Because I knew this moment meant everything. And I whispered, "Evan, I'm right here." For the first time since I'd met him, Rylan Creed didn't look dangerous. He looked fragile. And that terrified me more than any fight ever could. The rain had stopped hours ago, but the quiet lingered like a secret in the air. Rylan had eventually fallen asleep on my couch, half sitting, half slumped over, one arm draped across his stomach. For once, his expression wasn't guarded. His jaw wasn't clenched. His fists weren't tight. He looked peaceful. God, he was beautiful when he wasn't trying to hold the entire world together with his bare hands. I draped a blanket over him, thinking he wouldn't notice. I was wrong. His eyes opened slowly, soft, unfocused, vulnerable. "Rylan, rough, sleepy, don't go." I froze. "Evan, I wasn't going anywhere. Just covering you." He blinked, taking in the blanket, the room, me. Then he sat up, running a tired hand through his hair. The movement exposed his torso as the blanket slipped. His shirt was still damp from earlier, clinging to every line of his body. But that wasn't what made my breath catch. It was the way he looked at me. Not like the fighter. Not like the intimidating beast. Not like the teasing man who cornered me against gym walls. He looked at me like someone he trusted. Someone he needed. Someone he couldn't stay away from. "Rylan, thank you." Two simple words. But from him they carried weight. A lifetime of never having anyone to thank. A lifetime of never having someone show up for him. I sat beside him slowly. Silence stretched between us, quiet but not empty. It warmed the air. Finally he said, "Rylan, I shouldn't have come here last night." My heart dropped. "Evan, do you regret it?" He shook his head instantly. "Rylan, no. That's the problem." I swallowed. "Rylan, I've never let anyone see me like that." His fingers brushed the couch cushion beside mine, barely missing my hand. "Rylan, I don't know why it was you." My breath hitched. "Evan, maybe because I didn't ask you to be strong." He went still. Completely still. Then he whispered, "Rylan, people only want me when I'm strong." I gently reached out and touched his forearm. He stared at my hand like it was the first time he realized he was allowed to be touched softly. His voice was almost a plea. "Rylan, why aren't you scared of me?" My thumb brushed his skin. "Evan, because you're not trying to hurt me." He inhaled sharply like the words hit him somewhere deep. Slowly, so slowly, he lifted his hand and covered mine. His fingers were rough, calloused, and trembling. God, his trembling always broke me. "Rylan, you make me feel different." The confession sat in the air, raw and trembling. His hand slid up my arm, following the line of my skin until his fingers curled around the back of my neck. I swallowed hard. His face inched closer. Not aggressively. Not confidently. Carefully. Almost shy. His breath was warm against my lips. "Evan," softly, "Rylan." He whispered like it hurt to hold it in. "Rylan, I want to kiss you." My heart slammed so loud I was sure he could hear it. "Evan, then?" His forehead pressed to mine. His voice broke. "Rylan, but I'm afraid I'll ruin it." The softness in him, so big, so real, made my chest ache. I lifted my hand to his cheek, brushing the edge of his jaw. "Evan, you won't." His hand at my neck tightened just a little. His nose brushed mine. Our breaths mingled. His lips hovered over mine. Close enough to taste the warmth of him. Close enough to feel the heat radiating from his skin. Close enough to drown in the tension between us. He whispered one last warning. "Rylan, tell me to stop." I whispered back. "Evan, I won't." Something snapped inside him then. Not violent. Not aggressive. Something hungry. Something relieved. Something he had been holding back for far too long. His lips finally met mine. The first kiss wasn't hard. It wasn't bruising. It wasn't the intensity the world expected from him. It was gentle, slow, warm. Like he was learning the shape of my mouth. Like he was memorizing the taste of me. Like he was terrified of hurting me, but terrified of pulling away too soon. I exhaled softly against his lips and he leaned in deeper. His hand slid from my neck to my jaw, tilting my face so he could kiss me properly. Deep, slow, beautifully careful. His thumb stroked my cheek. My fingers curled into his shirt. When we finally parted, breathless but close enough for our foreheads to touch, he murmured, "Rylan, I didn't know it could feel like that." I smiled softly. "Evan, feel like what?" His eyes flickered to my lips again. "Rylan, safe." A lump formed in my throat. He rested his head on my shoulder again, this time by choice, not collapse. And softly against my skin he whispered, "Rylan, don't leave me tonight." I held him tighter. "Evan, I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time in both our lives, being close didn't feel dangerous. It felt right. For 3 days, Rylan barely spoke to me. He wasn't cold. He wasn't distant. He was something worse, watchful. Always watching me from across the gym, across the training mats, across the medical room where I wrapped fighters' hands. Even when his face was blank, his eyes burned. But he didn't touch me again after the kiss. Didn't grab my wrist. Didn't pull me into his space. And the silence between us grew unbearable. On the 4th night, the underground arena buzzed with more electricity than usual. A big money match was happening and the new fighter, Cashin Voss, commanded attention like he was born for the spotlight. Charismatic. Flirty. Arrogant in a way that made the crowd roar for him. And unfortunately, I'd been assigned to do his pre-fight check. When I approached him with my clipboard, Cashin gave me a slow grin. "Cashin, you must be the famous medic. The one Rylan never lets anyone else touch him but." My heart jumped. "Evan, it's not like that. I was assigned to him first." "Cashin, sure you were." He winked. The crowd cheered his name from outside the hall, and his ego swelled even bigger. He reached out suddenly, fingers brushing my chin. "Cashin, cute. I see the appeal." I froze. Before I could pull away, a shadow loomed behind us. A dangerous one. Rylan. His eyes weren't their usual cold steel. They were black. Not dark, black. The kind of black that meant something primitive had been awakened. Cashin smirked at him. Cashin, relax, champ. I'm just saying hello to your... He didn't get to finish. Rylan shoved him against the lockers so hard the metal reverberated across the room and a few fighters flinched. Rylan, low lethal. Touch him again. And I swear you won't make it to the ring. Cashin only chuckled. The idiot didn't realize how close he was to dying. Cashin, so it is like that. Rylan's fists tightened. I stepped between them, hands pressed to Rylan's chest. Bad idea. His heartbeat was rapid, hard, violent. And when he stared down at me, something shifted behind his eyes. Not anger. Not jealousy. Something deeper. Possessive. Hungry. Like the beast inside him had tasted something it couldn't give up. Evan, Rylan, it's fine. I'm fine. Please, don't do this. For a moment he didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't blink. Then he grabbed my wrist, not roughly but with a grip that left no room for argument, and dragged me out of the prep room down the hallway into the nearest empty supply closet. He closed the door behind us. The darkness was thick, broken only by the faint light leaking under the door. I felt him before I saw him. His breath on my neck. His body inching closer. His hand still around my wrist, holding me but not hurting. Rylan, voice strained. Why were you letting him touch you? I swallowed hard. Evan, I wasn't. He grabbed me without warning. Rylan's breath hitched. He released my wrist, only to place his palm flat against the wall beside my head, caging me in. His chest brushed mine. Heat radiated off him. Danger mixed with desire, thick, addictive. He leaned in until his lips hovered a breath away from my ear. Rylan. Evan, I'm trying. I'm really F*King trying not to cross a line I can't come back from. My pulse went insane. Evan, Rylan? He pressed his forehead against mine, his breathing shaky like he was fighting himself. Rylan. When I saw him touch you, I wanted to break him. I wanted everyone in that room to know you're not. He cut himself off. His hand slowly moved from the wall to my jaw, fingers trembling slightly. Rylan. You're not his. My breath stuttered. Evan, and am I yours? The question slipped out before I could stop it. Silence. Then, he grabbed the back of my neck and kissed me. Not like the first time. Not gentle. This was raw. Starved. A surrender and a claim at the same time. His lips crushed against mine, fierce and desperate, as if he had been holding this in for years instead of days. His other hand slid to my waist, pulling me against him until there was no space left between us. I felt his jaw tense. Felt his breath shake against my mouth. Felt the intensity he withheld in the ring, directed entirely at me. When he finally pulled away, his voice was wrecked. Rylan. This is what you do to me. My knees nearly gave out. Outside, the announcer called Cashin's name. His match was starting. Rylan didn't move. Didn't look away. Didn't let me go. Rylan, quiet, fierce. After the fight, you're coming home with me. My heart stopped. And then just as quickly, started again. Louder. Hotter. Wilder. Because whether I admitted it or not, I wanted to. The arena roared with bloodlust, but all I could hear was my own heartbeat. Rylan stepped into the ring, no longer calm or calculating. He was volcanic. The jealousy, the kiss, the confession, all of it simmered beneath his skin, turning him into something terrifying and magnificent. Cashin taunted him from across the mat, rolling his shoulders, grinning like he didn't just nearly die in the hallway. Cashin. What's wrong, champ? Afraid I'll steal your little medic? Rylan's jaw ticked. He didn't answer with words. He answered with a punch. The bell hadn't even rung yet. The crowd erupted, security scrambled, the referee yelled, but it didn't matter. Rylan fought like a man whose world had been threatened. And I knew with painful clarity, he was fighting for me. Cashin was good, but Rylan was something else. Every strike was precise. Every movement a warning. Every hit fueled by everything he'd been holding back. Anger. Possessiveness. Fear of losing something he never thought he deserved. When Cashin stumbled, dazed, the referee finally surged between them. Referee. That's it. Match cancelled. Boos filled the arena. But Rylan didn't care. His eyes searched the crowd until they found me. Burning. Wild. Still the beast, but looking at me like I was the only thing anchoring him to the human world. Security escorted Cashin away. Paramedics rushed to check on him. But Rylan walked straight toward me, fists still clenched, chest heaving. Every step he took made my breath tighten. When he reached me, he stopped just inches away. Sweat shimmered down his jaw. A cut on his lip glistened. His voice was low and rough. Rylan. Come with me. Now. He didn't wait for an answer. He didn't need one. Because I stepped toward him first. The walk to his apartment. The drive was silent. His knuckles were pale against the steering wheel. Not from anger anymore. From fear. Fear I'd run. Fear I'd rethink everything. Fear he'd scared me off. When we walked into his apartment, he closed the door behind us and leaned his forehead against the wood. He breathed like a man trying to steady himself. I stood there, unsure if I should speak. But then he whispered, Rylan. You shouldn't be here. My heart dropped. He turned to face me. His eyes were soft for the first time since I met him. Rylan. I'm not good at this. At wanting someone. I don't know how to want gently. He looked away, jaw tightening like he hated admitting vulnerability. Rylan. I'm a mess, Evan. In the ring and out of it. But when that guy touched you, I realized I'd burn the whole arena down if someone tried to take you from me. I swallowed hard. Evan. I'm not going anywhere. He stepped closer, hesitant like he was afraid to break me. Rylan. You don't understand. I want you in a way that scares the hell out of me. My voice was soft. Evan. Then let me be scared with you. A long, trembling breath left his chest. Then he cupped my face, slowly, gently, like he was handling something rare and precious. Rylan. Tell me to stop. My pulse pounded. Evan. I won't. That was all he needed. He kissed me again, but this time there was no desperation, no fury, no claim. This was slow. Careful in a way that made my throat tighten. His hands moved to my waist, hesitant but warm. My fingers slid into his hair and he shuddered. He rested his forehead against mine, voice low. Rylan. I don't want to be the beast with you. I smiled, heart aching. Evan. You're not. Not right now. He kissed me again, soft, lingering, almost worshipful. Everything in him that was brutal in the ring was gentle here. We stood like that for minutes, breathing each other in, holding on to something neither of us had planned for. When he finally pulled back, his voice was barely above a whisper. Rylan. Stay the night. I searched his face. Not lust. Not hunger. Just hope. Quiet, fragile hope. I nodded. Evan. Okay. His shoulders relaxed with something like relief. He didn't drag me to the bedroom. He didn't push me against the wall. He simply took my hand, carefully like he was afraid I'd break, and led me through the dim hallway. He laid beside me, arm around my waist, face buried in my shoulder. His voice was soft, almost trembling. Rylan. Evan, you make me feel like I'm something more than a fighter. I squeezed his hand. Evan. You are. The beast finally slept. Not because he was tired, but because for the first time, he felt safe. And for the first time in my life, someone didn't just want my body, my skill, or my usefulness. He wanted me. All of me. Even the parts one thought no one would ever see. Even a beast knew what love felt like. And somehow, he chose me to feel it with.